Increased growth. Ronald Reagan.
Now you're Jack Kennedy.
Ronald,
The smoke has cleared after the first vice presidential debate.
We did it with Reagan. We said, here are the things we're going to cut.
We will recap Joe Biden's bizarre, strange, weird behavior during last night's showdown.
Oh, God.
Former Vice President Dick Cheney is here for a Hannity exclusive interview.
We weren't told they wanted more security. We did not know they wanted more security.
Tonight, we fact-check Sheriff Uncle Joe Biden, and the results are downright embarrassing. And how will the Obama mania media spin the pathetic debate performances of both Obama and Biden? Find out in our weekly segment of Media Mash. Plus, more shocking comments out of the White House over the Benghazi cover-up.
The entire reason that this has become the political topic it is because of Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan.
We are just 25 days from the election, and Hannity starts right here, right now.
And tonight, the former Vice President of the United States, Dick Cheney, is standing by to give us his exclusive reaction to last night's debate. But first, a recap of the face-off between crazy Uncle Joe Biden and Congressman Paul Ryan. Now, without question, the headline of the night was Biden's downright bizarre, strange, bewildering behavior. Now, for nearly 90 minutes, he was either uncontrollably laughing or rudely interrupting his opponent. And not even subjects like the Benghazi terror attack or Iran's nuclear weapons program were enough to prevent these bizarre outbursts.
It's never too early to speak out for our values. They keep misquoting him, but let me tell you about the Mitt Romney I know. It says, don't raise taxes on small businesses because there are job creators. When we show that we're cutting our own defense,
Vice President Biden.
It's incredible.
Look, you both saw Benjamin Netanyahu hold up that picture of a bomb with a red line.
Thank heavens we have these sanctions in place. It's in spite of their opposition.
Oh, God.
They've given 20 waivers to this sanction, and all I have to point to are the results. They're 4 years closer toward a nuclear weapon. I think that case speaks for itself. When we see, look, did they come in and inherit a tough situation? Absolutely. But we're going in the wrong direction. Slower than it grew last year, and last year was slower than the year before. Job growth in September was slower than it was in August, and August was slower than it was in July.
All right, so that was a review of the vice president's unhinged behavior last night. And disturbing as that was, when it came to substance, the results were even worse. Now, we will have a complete Biden fact check coming up in our next segment. But I would be remiss if I did not include the biggest lie of the night at the top of this program. Now, it involves the administration and what they knew and when they knew it with regard to Benghazi.
There were no protesters.
Because
Why
that's
did that
exactly
go on for
what
weeks?
we were told by the
who?
intelligence community. The intelligence community told us that.
They wanted more security there.
Well, we weren't told they wanted more security again. We did not know they wanted more security.
Now, that is blatantly not true. As we now know, this was determined to be the result of a coordinated terrorist strike, and we knew it. Our intelligence knew it in less than 24 hours. And on the subject of security, State Department officials testified under oath this week that additional resources were, in fact, requested and, in fact, denied. In other words, tens of millions of people were misled yet again by this administration last night on national television in the vice presidential debate. Joining me now on the phone with reaction, we're honored to bring in the former vice president of the United States, Dick Cheney. Mr. Vice President, thank you for joining us.
Well, thank you, Sean. It's always great to be on the show.
All right, listen, I guess we've got to start. I know you've known Joe Biden a long time. We know he's had a tendency, if you will, to be very gaffe-prone. Here, I found this, I don't even know how to say it, very, very disturbing, his behavior. It seemed uncontrollable. I would describe it not only as rude, but probably the most emotionally unstable debate performance in modern American politics. I don't think he could stop it. Everybody knows there's going to be a split screen here. How do you interpret this?
Well, I was disturbed by it, frankly. I've got a pretty specific set of requirements I'm interested in when I look at a prospective president, and that's what a vice president is. And that's the ability to step in at a moment's notice and take over. And you want somebody who's calm, cool, and collected, who asks questions, who seeks good information, and then makes those life or death decisions that we pay a president to make for all of us. And there have been 5 Republican presidents since Eisenhower. I worked for 4 of them, worked closely with the 5th in the Reagan administration as part of the congressional leadership. And what I saw in Joe Biden last night, I would not want to see in the guy sitting in the Oval Office. It's a set of characteristics that he used to display when he came down to the White House during the last administration. We'd have some congressional types come down for meetings on policy or for the president to report on some foreign policy issue, and you could always count on Joe, one, to talk longer than anybody else did, two, to interrupt other people and just sort of butt in like he did last night. It was classic Joe Biden, and you saw him in the flesh there last night. And as I say, from my perspective, that's not the kind of personality I'd like to see in the Oval Office.
You know, I guess, and, you know, everyone talks about being one heartbeat away from the presidency. And, you know, for a time last night, as I was tweeting in live time, Mr. Vice President, you know, it was funny. And then at one point I sent out a tweet and I said, this isn't funny anymore, because it seemed uncontrolled, hyperactive, manic. And then I saw a dramatic, and I don't know if you picked this up, not very many people in the media that seemed to be defending him picked it up, but then his mood changed, sort of dour. Is this part of a personality trait that you've seen before? You said you've seen some of this on display in the past?
Well, I've seen him in meetings, as I say, when we'd have congressional types down at the White House. He's a volatile kind of personality. He always has been. People say, oh, that's Joe being Joe. But, you know, I couldn't help but think last night and raise questions. Well, why did Obama pick him to be his vice president? He campaigned against him in the 2008 election. Of course, Joe supposedly won every debate then, but he only got 1% of the vote. He's a unique personality. I've worked with him some over the years. I like him. As I say, though, there's no question in my mind when I look at Joe Biden and Paul Ryan on the stage there last night. I think Paul Ryan's got what it takes to take over as president. I don't think Joe Biden does.
You know, there's certain things that he said were just factually inaccurate. One of them, as I dealt with, was the issue of Benghazi. There was a request. We did know for extra security. We did know what had happened, that this was, in fact, a terror attack. We knew within 24 hours. We had testimony this week from State Department officials and others very clear on what had happened here. He seemed to throw the State Department and our intelligence services down the stairs at the same time and not tell the American people the truth. That's pretty disturbing to me as well. I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, it's part and parcel with the kind of thing we've seen previously. You know, they like to take credit for having gotten bin Laden, but the guys who really deserve the credit are the intel professionals who tracked him down over a 10-year period of time, and the special ops guys in the military who went and got him. Now we've got a situation where they've got trouble. Again, they seem to be throwing off. They don't want to give the intelligence community the credit they deserve for the bin Laden capture, but they're perfectly prepared to place the blame on them when something goes wrong with the Obama policy in the Middle East.
Yeah. Look, how do you think, when you did your two debates, you're very aware that there's going to be a split screen, Mr. Vice President. You're very aware that at any moment you could be on camera. They sequestered Joe for a full 6 weeks. He hasn't done an interview, I think, going back as far as May. Do you think they're trying to hide something as it relates to the Vice President, one? And number two, how does this play? Maybe the hardcore left-wing loony base likes it. How does this play with women in the country, independents in the country? What do you think the fallout of this bizarre performance will be? Well,
I think it hurt him, and I don't think he gained any of the ground that Obama lost in the first debate. That is to say, if it was intended to demonstrate that you've got a calm, cool head here ready to take over at a moment's notice, it sure as heck didn't do that. And from the standpoint of winning over undecideds, my guess is it was generally pretty ineffective.
All right, Mr. Vice President, as always, thank you for your time. And coming up, we're going to play True or False with Joe Biden's answers at the debate. And here's a shocker. The answer's false. Patrick J. Buchanan, Joe Trippi are going to run through the Vice President's preposterous lies from last night as we do the fact-checking. And then Biden made it a point to wage class warfare all throughout the debate. Mr. Vice President, your boss warned us this was going to happen.
If you don't have a record to run on, then you paint your opponent as someone people should run from. If you don't have a record to run on, then you paint your opponent as someone people should run from.